In a wild, wacky, fun world, Oklahoma State versus Houston might be a pivotal Big 12 title race kind of game with the two most NFL ready quarterbacks dueling it out. Plus, it's typically a home game for O State. That should help.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your top stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for swinging on through. Today, we'll be partially brought to you by Odoo. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get hooked up with Odoo. Try for free at odoo.com/locked on. That is Odoo, ODOO.com/locked on today. Meanwhile, we get to slide right into this conversation of Oklahoma State versus Houston. Drew Mestemaker versus Connor Weigman is the most NFL-ready quarterback matchup, meaning this game could have tons of crazy implications. When you look at Oklahoma State's schedule and Houston's schedule, it is very plausible that Oklahoma State comes into that game with a 4-1 record, going to Houston, with the only loss being to Oregon. Likewise, I do think that Houston is going to breeze through games like Oregon State. They do take on Texas Tech. They have a lot of instability, at least seemingly, at the quarterback position. So perhaps Houston could take advantage of that, and they could come in 4-1 because they do have a game with Kansas State right before us. Or they could be in a crazy world where everything comes together, and they do have the pieces. They have the coaching. They have the staff. They have the defense. They have the quarterback to make this thing interesting. And I think Oklahoma State also does have the same capability. The game against West Virginia, that's a crapshoot. It's a 50-50 for Oklahoma State. But the game after that, or right after the UCF game, is going to be Houston. That's going to be a turning point for both teams almost towards the middle of the season, right? Right when you're kind of getting to the beginning of Big 12 play, and you're starting to get at least a little bit of a picture of what the Big 12 title race is going to look like. At the end of the day, Oklahoma State and Houston might neither be in the race, but at that early on portion of the season, I think it's going to be, because of this Connor Weigman versus Drew Mestemaker conversation, because of the fact that the last 11 games that Oklahoma State's gone to Houston were 5-5 with a tie. And from a fan's standpoint, I do poke fun, but Houston fans can't even argue up until this maybe last game. This turnout for the Houston Oklahoma State games in Houston have been largely dominated by Orange. And most every prognostication out there has both Drew Mestemaker and Connor Weigman as one of the top 3, top 4 quarterbacks in the Big 12. Both of them have that prototypical 6'4", 6'5", 220, 230 kind of NFL frame. They both have some mobility. They both have, the capability to lead their team, to layer the ball in all 3 areas. They also have comparable running games. I think Mekhi Hughes, after massive 1,000-yard seasons at Tulane, didn't get the opportunity to prove himself at Oregon, but it was a good learning moment. It was a good offseason strength and conditioning moment for him. Now he comes to Houston, going up against somebody like Caleb Hawkins. The storylines for Oklahoma State versus Houston might end up being some of the most important in the conference by the end of the season, because Devin Dampier, No Fafita, Avery Johnson, they're all going to be part of this conversation at the end of the day as well, as they deserve to be. But again, when you're talking about draft picks, and the possibility that Oklahoma State could have the offensive firepower to make this thing fun, knowing that the Oklahoma State fan base is going to show up and show out in Houston. We have a lot of alumni in that area. I mean, Houston, has a lot of alumni from everywhere, but I think Oklahoma State has a bigger contingent than most. I don't think it's going to be predominantly Orange like it has been several times in the past, because Houston is good. And I'm sure they take offense to some degree, looking up the stands and highlights over the last decade plus of it being a lot of Orange in the stands. At the end of the day, we could end up looking at this game realistically as a turning point in the conference, because if they do beat Texas Tech, say it takes a little bit of time for Will Hammons to get fully integrated, healthy back into the system, and Houston gets that dub. And let's say they get a W versus Kansas State before this Oklahoma State game. This is a turning point. And our loss, realistically, should be Oregon. We should be able to beat Tulsa. We should be able to beat Mercer. I think we should, have a good opportunity against UCF. They finally have to come to Stillwater, Oklahoma. I think you do go to West Virginia, but they have more question marks, in my opinion, on their roster, on their depth chart than Oklahoma State. It is in Morgantown, but again, you're going up against an offense at Oklahoma State that knows what they're supposed to do, that functionally knows how to operate this system to a ridiculous level. Plus, you factor in the additional talents because Houston, they loaded up on the offensive line. They went and got an All-American from Tulane. They got a couple other big-time pieces. So their offensive line should be better than this previous season. Their defense was never a question. They bring back a decent amount, and what they didn't bring back, they brought veteran leadership experience. So defensively, they should be improved. They're going to be aggressive, but that aggressive tendency is going to have to now contain guys like Justin Bowick, Chris Barnes, to go alongside Wyatt Young and Miles Coleman, who are already coming in with that 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard, 1,300-yard kind of pedigree established with Drew Mestemaker. You get the leader in touchdowns for Illinois and Justin Bowick, who's a 6'4", 225-pound Dez Bryant, Justin Blackman kind of target, to go up against that Houston ball club that is extremely talented. I do think, again, at the end of the day, we could look back on these Oklahoma State and Houston rosters as some of the most draft picks, some of the most ready-made NFL prospects could be in this particular ball game that is fairly early into the season. Again, I'm not over here saying that Oklahoma State's going to be great, but you're looking at these games that you need to pinpoint, that you need to circle, that are going to be the point of the season where you have an understanding of what this could potentially look like. How good are both teams going to be? Because I think both teams very easily, we're living in La La Land to some degree. I'm chugging tons of orange Kool-Aid, and I'm assuming that Houston is going to be able to do the same thing, because even if they lose one of those two games to Texas Tech or Kansas State, and we come into that ball game as right now it's a 6 to 10 point underdog. But if they're only at one loss and we're only at one loss, and our one loss is only to Oregon, then there is going to be eyeballs on that ball game, and there is going to be NFL scouts on that game, and there is going to now be a conversation about the comparisons, because physiologically they're about the same. I know I love to throw Drew Mestemaker into that Fernando Mendoza conversation, but I think him and Connor Weigman have a lot of commonality. So this is going to be a very fun, interesting game. I don't think we're going to flood it with orange like we have in the past, but I also do not think that Oklahoma State is just going to lay down and allow Houston to out-talent Oklahoma State. I don't see that happening. But when it comes to out-talenting everybody in the Big 12, this could be an out-talenting everybody in the United States of America conversation. Jacue Hoyt, goodness gracious, the queen of GIA is putting her stamp on that court. But before we do get to that, ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about Indeed. Indeed, you do need Indeed, especially whenever you're trying to get the workplace less chaotic, whenever you're having an understanding of who can help you bring in the best team to get things knocked out and take that stress away. That's Indeed sponsored jobs. They're going to help you reach the candidates who actually fit everything that you're looking for based off of their skills, their experience, their location, etc. Finding the right person can make all of the difference in your operation. Whether it's building a small business or building a winning team to enhance your business on a daily basis, you got to have the right people, right? Think of it from a player's perspective, or coach or executive, whatever the case may be. You always are going to be looking for that next key addition that's going to help your organization get to the top, to beat the competitors. It's not necessarily the biggest name available. It's the right fit, the best fit. And you've got to get with the professionals to do that. Those professionals are Indeed sponsored jobs. When it comes to hiring, recruiting, just simply adding the right personnel that can completely change the trajectory of your team, your company, your business, your project, you got to let Indeed sponsored jobs. Help you get this squared away. Let the pros help you be a better pro. So, what we need to do right now is spend less time searching, less time stressing, more time actually interviewing the candidates who check all of the boxes. You need to get with Indeed sponsored jobs to cut through all of that chaos. Listeners of this very show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Oklahoma State. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions do apply. But if you need to hire, you know this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Or Jacue Hoyt with the way she's hiring, basically. Yes, Jacue Hoyt. We've had some fun calling her the potential queen of GIA. She's got a little bit yet to go. But every year we've talked about the biggest benefit of Jacue Hoyt is she understands what the deficiencies were, and she takes advantage of it, and she fixes it. Perfect example, a couple seasons ago, she had a difficult time with shooting, so she brought in some extra shooting. Then she had a problem with like roster attrition and numbers, so she brought in better numbers. Then we got kind of exposed a couple years ago in the NCAA tournament because of rebounding. So she brought in rebounding and one of the South Dakota State players that was such a hindrance to us advancing in the tournament. And then this previous season, it was, again, more of an emphasis on defense and attitude and playing together and working inside out. But she ran into the towers, the behemoths of basketball. Whenever you're going up against a UCLA squad that has 6'6", 6'7", 6'5", 6'7", and they can dribble and they can shoot and they can bring the ball up the floor, it's a difficult proposition for anybody, let alone if you have the pieces to make it work. Jacue Hoyt goes out and lands the #1 portal class in the country by like 55 country miles. And then she has the audacity to go out here and add to it. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even necessarily think it's fair what Jacue Hoyt is doing. It's criminal. She goes out and grabs the exact thing that was a hindrance for us against UCLA after already getting Audie Crooks, the best player in the entire portal. You go out and get another big that is 6'7", a Slovenian star by the name of Mojca Jelenc. According to Pistols Firing, I hope I'm saying that right, Mojca Jelenc. She is a 6'7" European absolute stud down low on the block. She's a center. She is coming over from, the FIBA roster club kind of situation, which is somewhat interesting with the 5-for-5 stuff that was kind of being talked about. Getting some of these professionals from overseas was going to be a difficult proposition moving forward. We went out and got one. Regardless of whatever's happening, Jacue Hoyt says, I'm going to add a piece that instantaneously not only makes us a Big 12 title contender, but this is a Final Four roster. Whenever you go grab a player that was FIBA U16 European Championship MVP, most valuable player in Slovenia. She was a 5-star selection for the 2019 U16 Euro team. She won 3 consecutive Adriatic League titles with the Slovenian team. She's won a Spanish Cup with Valencia. This previous go-round, she was averaging 11.3 points a game, over 6 rebounds a game, playing in 26 games, shooting 39% from the three-point range and 49% from the floor. And 2024-25, she averaged 8 points a game, just under 8 points a game, just under 4.5 rebounds a game. And she's been to multiple levels before that, 16.2 points a game, 7.9 points a game, 1.5 block shots a game, 58% from the floor. This is a massive addition. I know it's probably my favorite word on this show, so I might abuse it. But you go out and, again, you landed all of those pieces that Audie Crooks absolutely had to have, and somewhat even unknowingly was talking about it publicly. I need a team with shooters. I need a team that provides help to where I can come in and I can give my 25, 26-ish minutes, and I can give you 30 points in that 25 minutes. And then the rest of the ball game, I have other pieces to work off of me. And in that, whatever 25 minutes, 20 minutes, 19 minutes that Audie Crooks is in the game, she's got to have shooters. And Jacue Hoyt built this perfect storm for Audie Crooks before she even knew Audie Crooks was a legitimate option. That's why this organically worked out perfectly. JC wanted a team of shooters, and she knew that size was going to be the biggest difficulty. And then she was somehow able to convince Audie Crooks to come be an Oklahoma State Cowgirl. So we thought then, this is a Big 12 title team that compete for the Big 12 title. This is a team that could make a Sweet 16 kind of run, an Elite 8 kind of run. The only thing that we're missing is somebody like this, a 6'7" beast that can go up against those players at the UCLA kind of level. Like landing Audie Crooks was going to be a problem for the UCLA and the South Carolina kind of teams. When you have Liv McGill averaging 23.3 or whatever it was at Florida in the SEC Freshman Player of the Year. Then you have Ellie Brigman, 44% from the three-point land. You have Telexa Weeder, 27.9 points a game, number one player in D2, number one scorer in the country at the D2 or D1 level. You go out and get L.A. Sneed, former five-star All-American that had some production at Utah. You get Nene Najai from Rutgers, who was somebody that was averaging what, like 12, 13 points a game at Rutgers in the Big Ten. And now you add Mojca Jelenc as Final Four team. I think that Jacue Hoyt is going to fully embrace that. You know, there's never been expectations like this in Stillwater, Oklahoma for Cowgirl basketball. No chance. Not even close. But this is the last piece that puts Oklahoma State into that Final Four conversation. Like if everybody, knock on wood, say a prayer 73,000 times, if everybody stays completely healthy, this team is nuts. And we're not even necessarily talking about Staley Hurd in this conversation. Well, we're not even, considering the fact that Jacue Hoyt already had some foundational pieces put together before assembling this insane crew. So congratulations to Jacue Hoyt. But now, heavy is the crown because the pressure has now arrived for Jacue Hoyt. When you add this 6'7" Slovenian professional to this Cowgirl roster that already was number one in the country by, again, 15 country miles, it was Oklahoma State. Then everybody else was playing catch up. And then Jacue Hoyt adds this ridiculous piece. So now Mojca to go alongside Audie Crooks. It's not even fair. I know we're going to prove it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to make the Big 12 interesting because TCU is kind of the team that you got to knock off. And remember, before we got Liv McGill and Audie Crooks, all of the talk was about TCU's portal and how TCU was going to once again likely reign as Big 12 champions, and they were going to be the team to beat. And they were going to be the team you have to go through, and they still are. But on paper, how do you stop this Oklahoma State team? Like, I don't see anybody in the Big 12 that is equipped physically to handle this capability for Oklahoma State. The size, the strength, the speed, the depth now, the versatility. Because, again, you might go from Mojca to Audie, but there might be moments where you're in the game with Mojca and Audie and Nene. Like, what are we doing? We're assembling the all-star cast. Like, maybe Jacue Hoyt's wearing that Thanos glove and all of these rings. It's like, okay, here we go. If JC were to acquire the Thanos glove and she got all of the rings, right? She's already got all of them right now. And then she adds this piece. It's like an extra ring. I don't even know if that's fair. I don't even know if that's allowed or should be allowed. This is going to be unfair. what Jacue Hoyt just did to the rest of the Big 12, it's unfair. In certain times, certain places, yeah, this would be a potentially criminal offense. What a roster. What a time. What a squad. You need to make sure that your business is ready to rock and roll every single day. And you already know that Odoo is how you get everything linked together. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of crazy systems that don't necessarily feel like they were ever designed to work together to begin with. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, another for miscellaneous, and somehow you don't get all of these inventory positions to talk to each other. This is where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software system that brings every part of your business together in one very powerful platform. From sales, inventory, accounting, marketing, whatever, it's all going to work in one place. So it's going to help your entire team move faster, stay organized, focused on growing your business instead of managing any kind of crazy software. The best organizations know that success is not just about talent. It's about having everyone working towards the same goal and being on the same page. And that's very much the same in sports as it is in business. You're going to be able to understand what your team is trying to accomplish 24/7 when they know what all the moves are being made around them. It's like picking up a draft, right? It's like getting your big board together. If everybody in that building knows what everybody else is trying to accomplish, you're going to be on the same page. You're going to knock things out of the park. You're going to dominate. You're not going to have to make as much in-game adjustments because everybody's going to be on the same game-winning page. It's going to be strategic, so everybody makes decisions that are going towards the same goals. Great organizations win because operations matter. And that's why you need to worry about the operations by heading on over to Odoo today. Try Odoo at odoo.com/locked-on. That is Odoo, O-D-O-O, odoo.com/locked-on. We weren't going to let you sneak by without getting involved with the Everydayer Club as well. This is your opportunity. Get squared away today. Come be part of the Everydayer Club, a.k.a. come be a regulator. Get your Locked On Oklahoma State fix daily, as well as an audio exclusive show that Locked On puts on. You'll start your 7-day free trial right now so you can get closer to your team without interruptions. Click the show notes down below. But, of course, you can also head on over to LockedOnOklahomaState.supercast.com. Head on over there today to become a regulator, a.k.a. Everydayer. Last but not least, Wyatt Hendrickson is him. Captain America does it again. Let's be real. It's slightly surprising. Zahid Valencia has been on an absolute tear. So the fact that he went down to Cal Dake is extremely surprising. So, yeah, you can't necessarily say that Cowboy RTC went out there and knocked it out of the park. Dustin Plott, had a top 5 placement. So it was good. Jax Forrest fell to Marcus Blaze. Not super surprising, right? We've talked about Marcus Blaze having a little bit of an advantage when it comes to freestyle. But Landon Robidoux, good performance, right? Kind of in that alternate kind of classification, as is Zahid Valencia. At the end of the day, this is all supposed to be about what's setting us up for folk style. And that's something that we cannot lose sight of. I'm sure we'll talk to Zach in the next couple days about all of this. I don't think this is an indictment on, a down moment for Oklahoma State, but this is the beauty. When we're talking about a down moment to any degree about Oklahoma State wrestling, it's because we're so spoiled and our expectations are now so phenomenal that when we only have one Cowboy representative in the world team, I mean, it's slightly disappointing, but it doesn't appear that it's going to stay that way for long. Like, you're going to have this influx of guys moving forward. The Landon Robidoux, the Sergio Vegas, the Jax Forrest that are going to be continuously staying at this thing. So at the end of the day, I'm happy to see Wyatt Hendrickson do his thing. And I'm happy that this is probably going to add some motivation. This is going to add motivation for Zahid Valencia, who had already taken his game to a brand new level. He unlocked something new at Oklahoma State. He'd been cruising. He'd been cruising and scoring in ways and multitude of points that he hadn't necessarily previously. And then he kind of runs into this wall. Jax Forrest, Marcus Blaze was always going to be a little bit of an issue. Landon Robidoux, like that's just there's a lot of learning moments here that I do think will enhance this team for the college season, which is what this is all about. Freestyle's remarkable. It's absolutely amazing. And it does show the development because it shows what kind of work the guys are getting behind the scenes. And it's important that you have people good enough to be at these Final X World Team Trial moments. And by and large, I'd say Oklahoma State is typically taking advantage of most of these. This is one of the very rare instances where there were some minor areas where we came up a little bit short. You know, I felt like we all expected Jax to potentially be that guy. Zahid Valencia could have been that guy. Landon Robidoux could have been that guy. There's some dudes that we have in that wrestling room that are going to be able to now utilize this as motivation to do more, to learn more, to figure out some new kinks in the system. For the next time we see a Jax Forrest Marcus Blaze matchup, he's going to have some new tools in his tool bag because of this. So it's not, I don't think it's a bad moment whatsoever. Pridefully, would it be great to have a bunch of Cowboys representing? Yes, and I think we will. I think that is coming. But if you're adding fuel to any fire, if you're looking for any, not necessarily like, negative bulletin board material, but reasons to do an extra lift, to do an extra run, to lose an extra pound, to do something a little bit extra, I think maybe this could be some of that, because we're good enough to have more than just Wyatt representing Oklahoma State wrestling on the world stage. So congrats to Wyatt. You earned it. You deserved it. We're not surprised. And the beauty of it is I think this is just scratching the surface of what Oklahoma State wrestling is about to become. Not even to mention the possibilities on the UFC side of things. So we have Olympic potential, we have RAF potential, we have UFC potential, all in that same room. What a huge moment the UFC Diego Lopez thing was for Cowboy Wrestling and David Taylor, which still is going to be able to catapult Oklahoma State into a position where beating Penn State on a regular basis can now become a realistic, legitimate, fun, viable conversation. Anywho, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in and make this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. You could be anywhere, so happy you choose to be here. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you liked it. Dislike if you didn't. That's okay too. More importantly, share, comment, and subscribe. My podcast people out there, you're everything that makes this work. I appreciate what you do. Go do what you do. Hit the stars. Leave some reviews. All right, y'all. Later, my taters.